The ancestral Puebloans arose around 11,000 BCE around the Colorado Plateau, and their groups morphed, blended, and changed up until around 1300 CE when they dispersed. The complexity of this system is verified by a massive amount of road networks. And the Chacoan roads are unbelievable. And yes, you do understand that correctly. All of this lumber at Chaco Canyon is thanks to the Chacoan outliers in the San Juan Mountains, which illustrates how the Chacoan people used their ingenuity and their road system to transport hundreds of thousands of trees to the heart of their empire. A kiva is a semi-subterranean circular structure. It was and is used as a meeting place and a place for ceremony. So a kiva is round and has a domed roof. Man, this place is great. This particular rift valley runs from modern-day Leadville, Colorado, all the way down to Chihuahua, Mexico. Today, it is called the Rio Grande Rift, or the Rio Grande Basin. It's between 6 and 7 miles thinner than all of the land around it. And so all of these factors combined have picked this part of the world as a place where the crust of the Earth itself is ripping apart. So let's talk about the Long Walk. The Long Walk was when the U.S. government and U.S. Army forcibly deported 1,000 Dene Navajo inhabitants from their homeland. They forcibly removed them from their native territory in Arizona and marched them at gunpoint for 300 miles into New Mexico. This forced removal took place in about 50 different individual groups and marches that all came together to the same trail. And as you won't be surprised, it saw the death of hundreds of individuals. Now, I'm not going to beat around the bush. These were death marches, carried out on American soil by the United States government.
The lava flows that built this valley began around 100,000 years ago. The most recent magmatic eruption at this site happened only 3,000 years ago. Something which truly blows my mind because it means that there were people around when it happened.
The environment they had found the very stuff of life itself, a cool, bubbling spring of fresh water. Once upon a time. Between 1846 and 1848, the United States decided it didn't have enough land yet, so they went to war with Mexico. When the dust had settled, the United States had somehow managed to walk away with 500,000 square miles of land from Texas to California. I know I come down on the U.S. a lot, but don't get me wrong, it's things like that that make me feel patriotic. The ceremonial earthworks at Newark consisted of a few major locations. In the northwest, we have Observatory Circle, which is connected through a narrow passageway to the Octagon. Over here to the east, we have one of the larger enclosures of the site known as the Cherry Valley Ellipse. To the southwest of that, we have Wright Square. And finally, the star of the show, the shooting location of today's video, the Great Circle herself. Today we are here with none other than Dr. Brad Lepper.
The Newark earthworks originally encompassed more than 4.5 square miles.
Wow. So that's the scale we're looking at here? This is covering 4 miles?
Probably, maybe not across, but yeah, I mean 4 square miles.
4 square miles, wow.
A conservative estimate is that 7 million cubic feet of earth was used to construct it. And the technology that they used was as simple as you can imagine. Pointed sticks, clamshell hose, and baskets. But the knowledge that have since been recovered, the architectural stuff, was worked out by the people in Chillicothe. That's like the origin point of the hopo culture. I think most archaeologists agree.
And at its center, archaeologists have found post holes, evidence that there was once a longhouse at the center. Archaeologists have also found the remains of the floor of this longhouse, which is made out of alternating layers of differently colored clays and soil. This is one of many examples of the Hopewell builders using different colored earth in their constructions.
Estimates that between 8,000 and 10,000 mounds were in Ohio. The Ohio Historic Preservation Office knows about 2,000, and many of those are historic records. The mounds no longer exist. They just have a record of them.
So it's not even 2,000 existing, it's 2,000 that are known of.
Yeah.
Wow, and how many would you say are still actually standing?
I mean, it's hard to say because some are on private land, and some private landowners protect them. But the ones that are on sort of state or federal land that are protected, it's a handful. I mean, a dozen, 20.
A dozen?
Yeah, it's a very small number.
Oh, that's so sad.
If you stand there, sight through that gateway and out through that gateway, you're looking at where the moon rises at its northernmost point on the eastern horizon.
Wow.
And if you stand in this gateway and sight right along that wall, you're looking at where the moon rises at its southernmost point on the eastern horizon. There are actually 4 points on the eastern horizon.
The True Story of the Headless Horseman by Sightfinity. Long ago, in the vast land of digital experiences, people were unhappy. Traditional CMS ruled with monolithic structure, but he was slow, rigid, and couldn't keep up with the ever-changing demands of the people. Then one day, out of the shadows emerged a new figure, Hybrid Headless. Hybrid Headless came to be known as a CMS, with a head that could be changed when decoupled from his heart. He could blend in with any front-end framework, adapt to any need, and provide content to any channel, from websites to mobile apps and beyond. Sadly, the people of the land didn't understand Hybrid Headless. They feared his flexibility, his adaptability. They were afraid of the unknown. All but two. Modern marketing man Ichabod Crane and his technical powerhouse partner Katrina Van Tassel. They loved Hybrid Headless. They became fast friends and built beautiful digital experiences together. It just felt easy. This angered Traditional. You see, he wanted to be loved by Katrina and Ichabod. He wanted to be their everything. One day, Hybrid, Ichabod, and Katrina secretly snuck away to a retreat so they could work on a new digital experience, the likes of which no one had ever seen. Traditional, becoming envious of their easy friendship, used this opportunity to tell the world that Hybrid Headless had kidnapped Ichabod. When the friends heard about the rumor Traditional had spread, they decided it was time to share what they built, publishing all kinds of content, blogs, videos, all optimized for search and with a personalized journey. It was truly omni-channel, and the people of the land began to engage. Soon, the people of the town saw that Hybrid Headless had come not to haunt them, but to help them. The marketers cheered. With Hybrid Headless, they could reach their audiences on any platform with less reliance on IT. The developers jumped for joy, knowing with Hybrid Headless, they could build omni-channel experiences with their favorite tools and frameworks. A world with Hybrid Headless was a happy one indeed. And now everyone knows the power of a CMS that can do it all. A system that wears many hats, but has no head to weigh it down. The end, or perhaps the beginning of something beautiful.
We live in a three-dimensional world where everything has length, width, and height. But what if our world were two-dimensional? We would be squashed down to occupy a single plane of existence, geometrically speaking, of course. And what would that world look and feel like? This is the premise of Edwin Abbott's 1884 novella, Flatland. Flatland is a fun mathematical thought experiment that follows the trials and tribulations of a square exposed to the third dimension. But what is a dimension anyway? For our purposes, a dimension is a direction, which we can picture as a line. For our direction to be a dimension, it has to be at right angles to all other dimensions. So a one-dimensional space is just a line. A two-dimensional space is defined by two perpendicular lines, which describe a flat plane, like a piece of paper. And a three-dimensional space adds a third perpendicular line, which gives us height and the world we're familiar with. So what about 4 dimensions, and 5, and 11? Where do we put these new perpendicular lines? This is where Flatland can help us. Let's look at our square protagonist's world. Flatland is populated by geometric shapes ranging from isosceles triangles to equilateral triangles to squares, pentagons, hexagons, all the way up to circles. These shapes are all scurrying around a flat world, living their flat lives. They have a single eye on the front of their faces, and let's see what the world looks like from their perspective. What they see is essentially one dimension, a line. But in Abbott's Flatland, closer objects are brighter, and that's how they see depth. So a triangle looks different from a square, looks different from a circle, and so on. Their brains cannot comprehend the third dimension. In fact, they vehemently deny its existence because it's simply not part of their world or experience. But all they need, as it turns out, is a little boost. One day, a sphere shows up in Flatland to visit our square hero. Here's what it looks like when the sphere passes through Flatland from the square's perspective. And this blows his little square mind. Then, the sphere lifts the square into the third dimension, the height direction where no Flatlander has gone before, and shows him his world. From up here, the square can see everything. The shapes of buildings, all the precious gems hidden in the earth, and even the insides of his friends, which is probably pretty awkward. Once the hapless square comes to terms with the third dimension, he begs his host to help him visit the fourth and higher dimensions. But the sphere bristles at the mere suggestion of dimensions higher than 3 and exiles the square back to Flatland. Now, the sphere's indignation is understandable. The fourth dimension is very difficult to reconcile with our experience of the world. Short of being lifted into the fourth dimension by a visiting hypercube, we can't experience it. But we can get close. You'll recall that when the sphere first visited the second dimension, he looked like a series of circles that started as a point when he touched Flatland, grew bigger until he was halfway through, and then shrank smaller again. We can think of this visit as a series of 2D cross-sections of a 3D object. Well, we can do the same thing in the third dimension with a 4-dimensional object. Let's say that a hypersphere is the 4D equivalent of a 3D sphere. When the 4D object passes through the third dimension, it'll look something like this. Let's look at one more way of representing a 4-dimensional object. Let's say we have a point, a 0-dimensional shape. Now we extend it out 1 inch, and we have a 1-dimensional line segment. Extend the whole line segment by 1 inch, and we get a 2D square. Take the whole square and extend it out 1 inch, and we get a 3D cube. You can see where we're going with this. Take the whole cube and extend it out 1 inch, this time perpendicular to all 3 existing directions, and we get a 4D hypercube, also called a tesseract. For all we know, there could be 4-dimensional life forms somewhere out there, occasionally poking their heads into our bustling 3D world and wondering what all the fuss is about. In fact, there could be whole other 4-dimensional worlds beyond our detection, hidden from us forever by the nature of our perception. Doesn't that blow your little spherical mind?